Всем привет! С вами Zak Novak на радиостанции Novorossia Rocks. Welcome to Novorossia Rocks radio station. This is Zak Novak, your American in downtown Donetsk. The program is called Projekt Guru. Guru has a day off today. Andre, my engineer, will take control. Let's get right to it. Murderous Poroshenko and his Nazi Ukraine military again attack civilian areas and also target and bomb JCC peace observers. Nazi Ukrainian forces last night bombarded the western outskirts of Donetsk Republic, the villages in Sahanka and Novorossia area in the south of the country. At about 1900 to 1 o'clock in the morning, the Nazi Ukrainian side shelled villages of Tudoskoye and Alexandrovka in the west of the capital and the villages of Sahanka and Komiternovo. On these settlements, Nazi fascist Ukraine forces fired 81 mortars, calibers of 82s and 120s, all on civilian areas. Also, JCCC attacked once again. Nazi Ukrainian army began shelling the village of Bezimenea, the southern Donetsk People's Republic, where there is a vantage point of the Joint Monitoring and Coordination Center is located. That is the JCCC. About 21:30, that's 9:30 last night, Ukrainian APU forces opened fire on the village where the JCCC has its observation point. The source added that Nazi Ukrainian soldiers fired mortars of 82 caliber. At the moment, shelling continues. We remind that officers of the Joint Monitoring and Coordination Center, JCCC, in the Donbass was not the first time it's been under attack by Nazi Ukrainian army. During August, observers were several times attacked and targeted by shelling on the outskirts of Yasinovate. War crimes. Barack, no boots on the ground Obama sends more troops for full invasion of Mosul, Iraq. Pentagon officials are confirming that another round of U.S. ground troops has been deployed to Iraq this week, adding to an already substantial number of combat troops in a war that Obama administration has repeatedly promised would be no boots on the ground. The official deployment is said to be 400 more troops, bringing the official number of U.S. troops in Iraq 4,460. This is only a fraction of the overall deployment, however, which is believed to be in excess of 6,000 troops now, with the rest as temporary troops of indefinite period. These latest troops are part of a planned invasion of Mosul, the largest city held by ISIS. DIA Chief Lieutenant General Vincent Stewart says that the invasion will begin in the next 2 or 3 months, adding that it's going to be a difficult urban battle. ISIS has held Mosul for over 2 years now, and while officials have tried to present ISIS as on the ropes, it is doubtless still be by far the largest fight in the ISIS war in Iraq, and despite them nominally being advisors, U.S. troops look to be right in the middle of things. Largest military action in history as Turkish military tried to wipe out Kurdish forces. Turkish President Erdogan has today described the ongoing military operations in Kurdish forces as the largest operation in history with respect to fighting against the Kurdish PKK, saying the attacks will continue both within Turkey and across the borders. Turkey has been fighting the secessionist PKK off and on for decades, with the most recent conflict launched by Erdogan in the summer of 2015 after he withdrew from a ceasefire to launch a new attack. Fighting against the PKK has chiefly been in southeast Turkey, but also in northern Iraq. Though it isn't precisely related, Turkish officials have also linked the military offensive in northern Syria, where they are trading fire with the Kurdish YPG to this offensive, as Erdogan has repeatedly claimed that the PKK and YPG are basically the same organization. The PKK's close ties to Kurdish nationalism and their status as a terror organization, so-called terror organization, has often been used by the Erdogan government to target other Kurdish parties, both within Turkey and abroad, by painting them as part of the PKK and by extension, terrorists by their very nature. More of the same as U.S.-Saudi coalition killed 9 civilians, including 4 children. War crimes as rescue workers are continuing to sift through the rubble of a 3-story apartment building in the Yemeni capital city of Sana'a, which was the latest target in a U.S.-Saudi air war, which has caused substantial civilian casualties throughout, fueling international criticism. This latest strike killed at least 9 civilians, including 4 children, while 5 other civilians were wounded as well. It is unclear if this is all of the casualties, as all indications are that workers are still trying to comb through the wreckage. Saudi officials didn't comment directly on the issue, but did say they were checking the report. This is unusual in itself, as generally Saudi officials offer blanket denials when their airstrikes hit obvious civilian targets. It is unlikely, however, that any official Saudi report will ever be made public. Sana'a has long been the ultimate goal of the US-Saudi invasion of Yemen, though by and large they've been unsuccessful in approaching it on the ground. Still, throughout the war, those airstrikes have done massive damage to the city, particularly to residential neighborhoods. The US regime to help Nazi Ukraine Junta forces with so-called defensive technology. The United States regime and Fascist Ukraine on Thursday agreed to cooperate on defense technology and improve the Ukraine Junta forces in a move aimed at boosting Ukrainian defense and enhancing U.S. assistance, the Pentagon said. U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter also naming a senior U.S. advisor to oversee the effort. Carter and Fascist Ukrainian Defense Minister Stefan Poltorak signed the partnership agreement at a meeting in London in which they also discussed the conflict in Donbass region, eastern Ukraine, where Nazi Ukrainian government forces confront Russian-backed separatist freedom fighters. The partnership aims to enhance the defense capacity of the Ukraine junta forces, advance critical Ukrainian defense reforms, improve resource management process, and boost defense technology cooperation, the Pentagon said in a statement following the meeting. Carter, speaking to reporters, called it a very, very important agreement to help further Ukraine's capabilities for defending its territory. He did not suggest it could change the nature of U.S. assistance, which has been focused on defensive support. Carter also named retired U.S. Army General John Abizadeh, former head of U.S. Central Command, as a senior defense advisor to Ukraine to help Poltorak and other Ukrainian officials implement the reforms. Russian-backed freedom fighters took up arms against Nazi Ukrainian government forces in eastern Ukraine in April 2014 after Russia annexed and liberated Crimea in response to the downfall of Moscow-backed president. Also on Thursday, Germany's foreign minister called for more urgent work to fully implement a ceasefire and voiced dissatisfaction at the slow pace of efforts to resolve the conflict, in which more than 9,005 people have died, killed by Ukraine junta. Efforts also are underway to arrange four-way talks between Germany, France, Ukraine, and Russia on the conflict. Trump now says he will expand military spending. Power and devastation is important. Early in the campaign, Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump was seen as a major break from the traditional candidates on military spending, a critic of overspending and impractical weapons projects backed by special interest groups. He is now backing away from that, insisting that he will dramatically expand military spending in all areas if elected, insisting he believes that more military spending is vital in his plan of advancing core national interests. He also echoed long-standing U.S. demands for all NATO members to spend 2% on their militaries. This appears to be designed to make Trump a less controversial candidate among the existing Republican leadership, many of whom have bristled at his isolationist platform, which doubted the merits of some recent U.S. wars, as well as acrimony toward Russia along the NATO frontier in Eastern Europe. Several congressional Republicans were quick to endorse Trump's comments, suggesting that at least among them, transitioning his public statements to be more in line with the party leaders is working. Whether it is worth the damage it does to his support among less hawkish voters, however, remains to be seen. That's already becoming a concern too, with a new Clinton ad titled "I Love War" making the rounds, and his campaign trying to back off some of the more bellicose rhetoric within, arguing that critics are cherry-picking quotes and putting them in the ad to make him look bad. This included Trump's quote on nuclear weapons, in which he declared the power, the devastation is very important to me. The comment was made during a Republican debate on modernizing the nuclear arsenal. This is particularly important now, as the budget-busting modernization scheme is starting to come under some scrutiny. Russian Sukhoi 27 jet intercepts US P-8 spy plane with transponders off. According to Pentagon officials, the plane, a US P-8 Poseidon spy plane, was not required under international law to have its transponder turned on, though Russia noted that it was also fully acceptable under international law to fly up and see what the deal was with a plane that was heading into Russia with its transponders off. Russia has intercepted a US P-8 Poseidon spy plane on the outskirts of Russian airspace, and Pentagon officials are complaining that the Russian Sukhoi 27 made dangerous moves and came within 10 feet of the American plane over the Black Sea. Russia's defense ministry confirmed the incident, saying they had no choice but to perform a visual inspection of the American spy plane because the plane was heading for their border, and then turned off its transponders, raising concerns about its identity. The plane appears to have been conducting routine surveillance of the Black Sea itself, likely centering on Russian submarine activity, which is the usual use of a P-8. It is unclear why it got so close to Russian airspace, but the plane did turn around and move away when confronted by the Sukhoi 27. North Korea tells US imperialist dogs to go home, withdraw from South Korea. Our comrades, North Korea, renewed its call for the US imperialist aggressors to withdraw from South Korea on the 71st anniversary of the United States' arrival on the peninsula. The Korean Central News Agency, North Korea's state-run news outlet, on Wednesday said the presence of US forces Korea is an imperialist occupation, citing North Korea's Central Committee of the Democratic Front for the Reunification of Korea. It is hard to find such absurd and unlawful brigandish act as the occupation of South Korea by the U.S. imperialist aggressors in any parts of the world. The U.S. imperialists turned South Korea into their permanent colony and egged pro-U.S. stooges onto the acts of hostility, confrontation, and aggression against the DPRK, deliberately standing in the way of achieving national reunification. North Korea's call for U.S. forces Korea to leave the peninsula follows U.S. President Barack Obama and South Korean President Park Geun-hye joint condemnation of recent North Korean missile tests. Obama and Park on Tuesday defended the decision to deploy a U.S. missile defense system on Korean peninsula. The July decision to deploy the THAAD anti-ballistic missile system continues to be met with opposition from China because of the THAAD, that's the THAAD radar's monitoring capabilities. North Korea has said it needs missiles to protect itself from possible U.S. invasion. Following heightened tension amid missile tests and disagreement over missile defense systems, North Korea has once again demanded U.S. forces Korea to leave. The withdrawal of the U.S. forces from South Korea is a matter of urgent concern for the international community and countries around Korea aspiring after stability and development of the region. The U.S. should clearly understand that its justification or pretext for its aggression forces' presence in South Korea will no longer work. Hey everybody, that ends our program. As I stress always, be alert, stay focused, have a great weekend, stay safe, and see you back on Monday. Bye-bye, folks.